I was gonna start a stream last night, but sat down and like I got to the point where I opened up my YouTube channel and I was like, "Fuck this." Mm-mm.
I was just thinking with them, it's like we love animals a lot, but they're so needy that we couldn't possibly get another pet because they'd be too jelly.
Yeah, I mean we could, but it would just. There are some people that deal with that shit every day.
Yeah.
Got like 10 different little personalities in their house, all vying for the top spot. I don't know that I'd be good at that.
Yeah. Two is plenty.
Yeah. Two's a crowd. Paul, Paul, Paul. Thank you, Cloud Massacre, for your customary 99-cent tax. I wish everybody that watched this would do that.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody that watches should give 99 cents at regular intervals.
And it'd be nice if you could like take smaller donations, like even like 5 cents.
That would be nice. I'll take it. I'll take a nickel. And Libby Paul, sorry about that poem I sent you on DFF that got me banned, but in my defense, you asked for hate. I don't even remember what you're talking about, homeboy. That's one thing that like never ceases to amaze me that people don't understand is like a ban for you is a total event that's memorable. A ban for me is like it's a Tuesday afternoon. And I'm removing an idiot from my site. You know what I mean? I don't mark the date. I don't remember the name. I don't remember the circumstances or any of that. Damn, Mr. Naughty Priest, $50.99. What a guy. Thank you.
You read like 500 comments a day.
Yeah. Do you ever do Patreon only Highdeologies? I do, once a month. Every month I do a patrons only Highdeology where we sit around and talk shit. Last month we watched a movie together. We talked some shit for about an hour, and then we went and watched an old movie together and had a good time. So yeah.
Most Dangerous Game.
And we watched the Most Dangerous Game, the original. So that was fun. Is that a reference to the Street Fighter movie, the Tuesday line? Good catch.
I'll have to watch that movie again, uninterrupted by chat.
What movie?
That Most Dangerous Game.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's definitely a movie worth watching. Had a great villain in it, just beautifully shot. The story of that movie is crazy. Like they just had extra time while they were filming King Kong.
Yeah.
They had extra time. They had access to some locations, and they were like, "Hey, in our downtime, let's shoot this other movie."
Yeah.
And in my opinion, the Most Dangerous Game is, I mean, it's not as culturally impactful as King Kong was. They were both huge movies in terms of like, you know. But I really think Most Dangerous Game is a better film, and it was done like that used to be a way more common thing back in the day.
Yeah.
In fact, there was that movie, what was it called? The one where the chick turns to chocolate pudding at the end?
Oh.
With Nicholson in it.
Was it
It's like
the Terror?
The Terror, yeah. That was another one of those movies where, you know, they're shooting some other film and they had the rights to Bela Lugosi and... Or no, it wasn't Bela Lugosi, it was the guy that played Frankenstein, the other guy. I can't remember his name now, but anyway, they were filming some other movie and they had 2 weeks left on the schedule. They finished ahead of time, and instead of letting everybody go home, they were just like, "Nope, we're doing another movie."
That made no sense.
Yeah, just throw them together, a bunch of crap.
Stories just like,
So the fact that the Most Dangerous Game turned out to be like a fantastic, beautifully shot, amazingly like groundbreaking film is pretty shocking.
I mean, they did have the benefit of a really solid like story for it.
Great story, great cast, great Just everything about it was great. Great locations and. I mean, it just goes to show you that, like, I mean, budget-wise, I can guarantee you they poured a bunch of money into King Kong and hardly any into the most dangerous game, you know? This goes to show you that movie quality is not entirely dependent on budget.
I'm gonna go say hello. Changed your mind.
What day? What gonna do for you, D? You trying to be the neighborhood police again? Trying to police your neighbors. Hey, you'll be quiet. You don't bark. Get out of here.
Little bitch. Bring it. Bring the ball.
Yeah, yesterday's stream made me gave me the itch. Logged back into Eve last night, and then had to remember why I stopped playing. I think I stopped playing because pretty much everything I have owned that I used for my mining operation got blown up. And so I logged back in and I was like, fuck, I gotta buy everything again. Great. And in Eve, that's a big deal, dude.
Yeah, it looked like it was a really complicated process. You can't just hit, like...
Yeah, you gotta travel all over and pick up all the components and stuff. It's very rare to... Like, if I was situated in a certain part of the galaxy, I probably would have gotten everything at one station. It's like trading areas that have a lot of stuff, but I'm out, you know, in a different area. And so I had to fly around with both my characters, pick up all the stuff that I lost, and spend a bunch of money. And I'm like rich in Eve, but I'm not like fuck you money rich. If you've got like fuck you money in Eve, you've got like everything, all your replacements already bought. When you lose one, you just jump in another one. You know, I'm not at that point. I can't afford to endlessly buy. Eventually, I'll run out of money. You know.
So did you even get to the mining, or are you just replacing?
I did a little bit of mining, but not much. Like once I got everything set up and everything, I played for about an hour and a half and I was done. But let's do that. Hello?
Chat not awake yet?
Yeah, chat's just like.
Come on, chat. Smell the coffee.
Yeah, dude. I got my coffee right here. Were you around for that giant battle in Eve? Which one? There's been a billion of them. I was a very small and ineffective part of one of the big pushes in 0-0. Moving around the pad. When I look around, I can't help but wonder. The God must be one sick motherfucker. So I bust a nut in the sky. Spend another day waiting to die. Anybody know that? That's some obscure rap right there. Did you ever try the game Final Fantasy 11? Was that the online one? If so, no. I had friends that played it. It was like a really early MMO. I think 11 was really super early MMO, and I never played it. I had a friend that was into it though. I used to watch him play. Biggie? No. Pretty much the opposite of Biggie. That was Mickey Avalon, who is a skinny white Hollywood rapper.
I finished The King's Man last night. In the credits, they had like some of that British rap, and it's so cringe.
British rap is always cringe. Smell pinto beans. Cool. Are you cooking some? Or do you just have the lingering smell of pinto beans? Pintos are good. Beans in general are good, man. I never met a bean I didn't like.
I could do without lima beans.
When they're cooked into things, they're good though. I guess lima beans by themselves are a little weird.
Yeah.
But when they're cooked into something, I like navy beans. I like kidney beans. Black beans. I like all the beans, man. Garbanzos and chickpeas. Yeah. Yes, please. Beans are awesome. I bet you could have a pretty decent diet on nothing but like bean dishes.
Yeah, my dad lived on like lentil soup for like a year and a half.
I don't know if I could go that far. Yeah, jelly beans, the sweet bean. Have this $2 bill. Thank you.
But yeah, it's good budget food for sure.
Beans. Oh yeah. Yeah,
like, didn't your mom make it a lot?
When we were having hard times as a kid, like after my parents got divorced and both were really struggling to make ends meet, we ate a lot of beans, man. My mom made chili, and then sometimes it wasn't even chili. Sometimes she'd just make beans, you know what I mean? Like throw a ham hock and some pinto beans and just cook a big old pot of beans.
No rice or nothing?
Sometimes, I mean, just kind of depends, I guess. But she would do hot dogs in a pot of beans, or mac and cheese in a pot of beans, or just like some bread with butter on it. That used to be my favorite thing, is when my mom made pinto beans. We didn't really have a whole lot of sides and stuff, so she taught me bread and butter, which is like, you'd think it would be like not the greatest, but dude, you take just a piece of normal bread, put a little bit of butter on it, fold it over, and then use it to what we Okies call sop. You sop it. You use it to sop up the like bean juice and the chili flavor and stuff, and that, dude, oh man. There are few things in the world better than that. And that's just like a big cheap meal that you can eat for 3 or 4 days as a family and do other things with too. Like my mom would sometimes start with a normal pot of beans, and then we'd eat that a couple of days, and then she would take those beans and make them into chili, or take those beans and make them into like a bean dip, where she would refry them and do like a little taco night.
Did you do Frito pie?
Frito pie. She calls them Frito boats.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing.
My mom used to make that a ton. She used to cook Frito pie.
And Hamburger Helper too.
Yeah.
Was huge back in the day. I mean, I don't know, maybe it still is.
I had a lot of it as
Yeah.
a kid too, so.
I almost had so much Hamburger Helper that I don't like it anymore.
Yeah.
As a kid, I will eat it,
Yeah.
but it's like, for me, it's like one of my least favorite things probably. It's not even, it tastes good. It's a good hearty meal, but I feel like I've had every flavor of hamburger
Yeah.
helper like 120 times now.
Yeah. My stepdad was weird. He never drained the fat off the beef, so it was always greasy.
Yeah. I mean, they say that you're not supposed to, but when you're cooking those pre-made meals, you have to almost.
Yeah.
Like it's different. Like if you're cooking like taco meat,
Yeah.
that's something that like I had to unlearn
Mm-hmm.
because my mom used to drain the fat off of everything, and you're not really supposed to in most cases bother draining the fat. If you're cooking hamburger meat to incorporate into something else, you just want to incorporate all that flavor and fat
Yeah.
and stuff in there.
What's really good is cooking onions and stuff in the beef fat.
Oh yeah, well that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You throw other things, or you throw it into something in which that fat emulsifies into the whole thing. Yeah, fat is the flavor. Yeah, yeah.
But
It
yeah,
really
if you're
is true.
just doing like a hunk of like 70-30 beef and some hamburger helper, you gotta drain that shit.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, there's already so much like fat in hamburger helper, those noodles and stuff,
Yeah.
and the sauce with the cheese or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just adding tons of fat to fat, and that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, if you're eating hamburger helper, you're probably using 70-30.
Yeah, probably. Will TJ be a dungeon master in an upcoming Dank D&D? I don't know. Both the guys have expressed interest in leading a campaign. I'd be totally down to have them do it, but I think that they maybe have been a little put off because I've told them like how much work I put into the campaigns and stuff. Like it's there's so much prep if you're going to DM a game, even if you're DMing like fast and loose like I do. Like I'm not a real stick to the narrative, stick to every, like I let the players make a lot of choice, and that necessitates kind of being able to pull things out on the fly, and still.
Yeah, like your first episode in particular, you had a huge ass fucking document.
Yeah.
You can start paring them down the further along you go, but
Yeah, I mean, never played a D&D game. You guys made it look super fun though. It is. It's super fun because I think what turns a lot of people off of D&D is the complexity of it. It's actually a kind of a dense game to get into if you play by the traditional rule sets. There's a lot of different things you have to keep track of, and a lot of different battle systems and stuff that are really arcane and laden with different rules and different roles and different exceptions, and learning all of that can be really daunting for a person trying to get into D&D. But the beautiful thing about D&D as a game system, and when I say D&D, I mean all sit-down tabletop game systems pretty much, is that you can make them up as you go. You can use those rules as an absolute framework and follow them to a T. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that play D&D that are super into it, that like to play it that way. But that to me is the opposite of how I like to play. I like to take the basic structure and make a game that is way more focused on player interaction than it is on dice rolls. I want the players to feel like they had a real choice in what happened to them, whether it's good or bad. You know what I mean? I want them to be able to look back on a session and go like, man, if we'd have done this, or that's a good thing we did that.
I think a lot of people get like overly involved in like the map has to be exactly this way.
Yeah, it's really funny because for me, I can't make a map. You know what I mean? And there are certain programs and stuff that you can use to make fake maps and stuff. But I created a whole setting for our D&D campaign that followed through the entirety so far of our D&D, and it's all a home brewed setting that I came up with. And it has geography and landmarks and cities and characters that are recurring, and all of that stuff has to be conceived of. You know what I mean?
But you're not like, oh my god, but this cave is like this many squares away, so.
I mean, when they're in battle, that's when how
Yeah.
many squares away they are matters. But like, yeah, I don't know. There's all kinds of little things. Like I like letting people be creative and have fun with it, and really let them kind of craft their own narrative. That's the fun part about it. Give them a fun world to play in, give them a problem to solve, and then, have fun interpreting their desires as you go along. Every fight is a crawl through the rule book. If the GM isn't like superbly experienced, people have told me Fate is a very cool system to get more freedom during the play. Yeah, I mean, if you look at our early stuff, I was really leaning heavier on the rules. I think the early D&D, because I just didn't know how much I could get rid of, and so I tried to simplify it a little bit. But I was really like, what do I do? What's this role mean? I was leaning pretty heavily on Stevie, because Stevie, had quite a bit of experience playing Pathfinder, and so he would help me out a little bit. But as I went along, I started to realize that a lot of these things that I was having anguish over, like, oh, what role works for this, could just be like, just let them make a roll.
Yeah, I think at one moment in one of the recent public ones, TJ finally got the gist of it. It's like, I'm gonna roll for perception for this thing.
Yeah. I mean, I want to let them, as long as they've got a rationale for it, make a roll. You know what I mean? And I come up with the numbers pretty much on the fly. I need a 15 or better on a D20 with your bonus. That's pretty easy to figure out. So if you're rolling perception, you can look at your character sheet real quick and see that with your perception level, you got +4 to any roll. So you got to roll me a 15 with a +4. So if you roll a 12, you get it. If you roll a 10, you don't. It's pretty easy to figure out the probabilities and keep the game moving. Are you much of a writer, Paul, or do you write to perform? I'm not a very prolific writer. The writing I do is typically for, I don't know, scripted content every once in a while, or just I don't know, a checklist of things that I need to go over.
I mean, the documents for those episodes are no joke. They're 12 pages.
Yeah. I mean, your average long episode's going to have somewhere between 12 and 13, 14 page document that you create. And the average minisode that I make, 30-minute episode, probably 5 or 6 pages worth of research. So, you got to do quite a bit of that. But I don't really consider that writing. At least not in the traditional sense. Would you try and survive if this went nuclear? Would you try and survive if this went nuclear? Oh, you're talking about... Huh? Talking about Ukraine? No. I mean, what kind of question is that?
You know what they're having today? Peace talks.
Yay, peace talks.
But no one's talking about it for some reason.
That's because everybody's still boned up.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ukraine killing Russians, yes. Nobody wants to fucking celebrate the peace talks. Let's get some peace talks going. Let's get an accord going. Let's get a ceasefire going. Let's work this out like fucking human beings. People are still too boned up.
And they're like, well, Russia's just gonna fuck it.
It's just well, yeah, we best not try then, huh? You're sad about all the hot Ukrainian women dying. You and the media, too. I saw a thread on Twitter today of just a ton of media takes from the U.S. and from Europe, where they're lamenting that this bombing is happening, but to white people, basically. Literally. It's hard. There was a quote from somebody in the Ukraine, one of the Ukrainian defense ministers. It was it's hard for me to watch this because I'm seeing people with blonde hair and blue eyes get killed. And it's just man, where do I sign up to support this shit?
Let's forget about the airstrikes in Yemen and Somalia and Palestine. None of those matter.
Not right now, they don't. Seeing that movie Looper where the guy from the future is like, I'm from the future, go to China. Yeah. I mean, that's very well could be what the future looks like. Nukes might be coming soon. Always might be coming soon.
Again, like peace talks are happening now, but everyone's like, World War III,
Nukes,
World War III,
nukes.
World War
Oh my
III.
god. Just like, ugh. People are so boned up. And it just keeps getting worse too, like with the political commentators, the lefty political commentators and stuff. It just keeps getting worse, man. I saw a Vosh clip the other day yesterday actually, that was like the best military recruitment ad ever. I'm like, what? What? Huh? And it's like for a person like me, shit like that is mask off. But for other people, it's just, oh yeah, this is compatible with your anarcho-syndicalist views. Yeah, this is compatible with your anti-imperialist takes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's all celebrate a Ukrainian military ad. Let's like jerk off about what a badass Zelensky is for doing photo ops in armor, in army armor. You know what I mean? Let's all jerk off about the war. Bosch is a neoliberal. Yes, yes. I didn't used to think so, but I think that this has removed any shred of doubt from me. And you know, whatever, it's his political position, but he's a neoliberal. He's come down on the side of every neoliberal piece of major action.
Really, just the whole Biden administration's reaction to that. A lot of people did the same shit. Very few, like, the call-outs of Biden versus the call-outs of Trump for the same exact shit.
Yep. So, you know, I'm already starting to see early signs of the worm turning in people's perceptions of this conflict. When I popped onto Twitter this morning, I saw way more like anti-war, kind of like, well, Ukraine is kind of shitty. Why is Ukraine saying this? Why did they do this? Why did this happen? Like, people are actually starting to question it now that the, first war spasm is over. Just like I fucking said, too. You go back and check. Once people blow off this emotional steam, they'll be against this. And all that crap where they called me a fascist and a red-brown alliance guy and a pro-Russian agent and stuff will just melt into the background like it was never said. And everybody will slowly adopt my position and act like it was always their position. It's already starting to happen. I don't know why people have gotten so anti-Paul on the subreddit lately.
There's always been
anti-Paul. Are you new to the subreddit? Dude, I could say that like a fart stinks, and I would get like a 16 paragraph hate thread about it. You were delusional, am I? Wow, you convinced me. I recant everything I said. What an argument. What a total fucking argument.
Yeah, the subreddit, I think, is just like probably a solid like third just hate watchers.
Maybe. I mean, I think a lot of the people that like style themselves as hate watchers over there just want attention. Like they're trying to stir the pot and get me to say something to them. And
or it's a bunch of people with alts. It's another alternative.
Are you against self-defense? Personal self-defense? No.
As to arming another country.
I don't think us arming a country against another country could be construed at all as self-defense. But yeah, if somebody walks up to you and punches you in the face, you can punch them back. Who's the most unhinged person on that subreddit? I don't even remember the names of people on that subreddit, bro. There's so many like alt accounts because so many hot takes that can't be justified or made that people will like say one thing on an alt and then disappear. So there's like literally no personalities over there. There's nobody memorable. There's not a single person over there that's memorable. So it's a big attention-seeking fest, basically. There is a dude over there, Sketchman, who used to be like one of my biggest ball washers, man. He used to be a dude that was just, he used to come in here all the fucking time. And he has gone like full, like he's like, Paul's a fascist, put the fascist up against the wall. And I'm just like, oh my God, man, what's going on in your life? Like, I remember him because he was a long-time Highdeology watcher. He's been in here. He's agreed with me on every other thing. But suddenly, you know, this Ukrainian thing, and I'm a fucking fascist. And I mean, he's like, that's all he does now over there. Is make, like, put Paul up against the wall. Fascist up against the wall. Fuck you, pro-Russian fascist. It's just like, whoa. Whoa, dude. Whoa. The LARP is strong, man. Mm-hmm. You want to take a person that would literally piss their pants if you put them adjacent to a war? That's him. That's your chicken hawk right there. You put this guy in the position to actually take a shot at a fascist, and he'd turn into a blubbering mess before he even got the fucking gun cocked. Mm-hmm. But makes people feel better. Putting people up against the wall sounds fascist. No. No. What? Fascists against the wall. What happened to you, bro? What are you going to do in 2 months when all this simmers down and everybody that you respect is like using my take? Because like sometimes it gets really, really uncomfortable for people. Like I've actually had like probably a good 50 people over the course of the last couple of years come to me and be like, Paul, I'm so fucking sorry, man. I said some really shitty things about you, bro, but you were right. It's like, man, at worst, or at best, you're setting yourself up for one of those. At worst, you're setting yourself up to be like one of these pussies that just like uses the anonymity to delete your account and just pretend you never had that opinion. Fuck, man. Why don't you just calm down?
Your position is literally like, let's not fucking fan the flames and things are complicated.
Yeah. Any particularly creepy experiences with the subreddit? I have creepy experiences pretty much everywhere on social media. People will get, and sometimes I think that they're trolling, but the ones that get really bad, I think that there's some truly unhinged people out there, and it is creepy. I've had people just talk about like, you're a worthless piece of shit. If somebody fucking, I've had a dude say like, if I see you in the street, I'm gonna fucking kill you. I just want you to know you're fucking smug bullshit. You talk all this shit on the fucking internet. I'm gonna fucking kill you if I ever see you fucking street, bitch. Blah, blah, blah. I've had that shit like multiple times in my career. So that type of shit is creepy to me. When people get like so fucking invested in something that they start like sending you these anonymous like death threats. I've had people threaten Amelia. It's you and your fucking bitch wife, fucking cunt. It's just like, whew.
And then there's those other weirdos that are like bearing their whole life to you.
Yeah.
You can have an answer for it.
It just gets odd, man. It took me quite a few years of doing this for a living to learn to really put arm's length between me and the audience. You know what I mean? I'm probably way more connected to the audience than your average streamer is. I do these very intimate, no plan streams where it's just kind of like talking to you guys. And even that, you know, has I had to learn, you know, not to get too close to people, not to let people start, not to give people the impetus to feel that parasocial connection. They're gonna do it anyway, but you put yourself out there a little too much, and it like encourages some very very unstable, very very dangerous, in my opinion, people. Like anybody that's gonna type out 6 paragraphs about wanting to kill somebody, wanting to kill somebody's wife, wanting to beat somebody in real life because of an opinion that they have or whatever. That type of shit is very creepy to me because I don't even understand that. I would never, genuinely fucking threaten to kill somebody or hurt somebody over an opinion dispute, and that line just doesn't exist on the internet. And keep in mind that not one time have I ever gotten one of those threats from a person who can be identified from their account. It's never a dude that calls himself like, Chuck Williams or something, and that's his real name, and he said this, and you can go to his account and, hey, I do this for a living. It's never one of those dudes. It's always some guy named like, just pick some random fucking names and numbers and shit. Like people are, and so like the fact that they're doing it in like this way that like I know who you are, but you're never gonna know who I am, and I'm gonna kill you. It's just like fuck, man. Well, who are you? Like rhetorically, I don't really care who you are in reality, but like fuck, man. How do you get to that point? Like I could read you guys some shit from my DM boxes and from like shit that's been said about me on the subreddit that make your toes curl, bro. Next time, if you ever talk to Vosh, just go hard on him like you did with Jamie. Don't be polite to him. Okay. I think there's a good chance if Vosh and I ever do have a conversation, that'll be probably our most contentious one. But I'm not really super interested in doing it either. It's very much like a gladiatorial show for people. Can't believe you used to be a NEET. I didn't. I was too young to be a NEET, but I was on my way to NEETdom. In my late teens, I didn't want to do anything but play StarCraft 2 and Ultima Online and smoke weed and sit in my fucking room and eat pizza. So had my parents not kicked me out and had I not joined the labor force in my late teens, I would have been a NEET.
But it's not like you weren't in the labor force before that. So.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
And you did attempt college at the very least.
Yeah, went to
That's more
college.
than most NEETs do.
Worked part-time jobs and stuff when I was a teen. But still, I honestly think Vosh would make Paul have a mental breakdown if they talked again. Oh, man. Yeah, dude. I mean, with me, a mental breakdown is entirely possible, but I can make a few guarantees about them, and one of them about any future mental breakdown, and one of them will be that it will have nothing to do with Vosh. I can let you know that right away. Subreddit really are bootlickers for vaccines. They're bootlickers for Vosh, not vaccines.
That's probably that one anti-vax dude that's been fucking spamming the subreddit lately.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the conservy derby. Yeah. He's a dude that like I think he thought like he was gonna make that account and get banned from over here, but he's been on every show. He's just like, I take the fucking 1995 conservative line on everything. It's like I'm not gonna ban you for that, but I don't think I'd be as proud of it as you are. How do I find you, subreddit? What's the name? It's deep fat fried.
If you just search Paul, it's basically like 75% of the posts anyways.
Yeah. No, you just go to the front page. You'll see it. What's wrong with Paul? Here's what I hate about Paul. Insert 6-paragraph unhinged screed about, like, there's a meme going on right now that I'm rich. And I was like, fuck, man, I wish these people were right. There are people on the subreddit that are talking about, like, oh, see, Paul fucking he's rich.
Yeah, we have one car that we share.
Yeah. We share a car. We live in a modest rental house. We don't have any children. We don't travel a whole bunch. We don't spend money on anything.
We didn't have a bed frame for like the first year we were together.
I slept on a mattress on the floor for like 3 years. Didn't have a bed frame for like 3 years, at least. But I'm rich as fuck though. I'm really fucking overflowing with dough. Just can't spend it all, man.
Yeah, it's like we wouldn't pick this house. This house is not great.
Dude, if I was rich, you guys would see some crazy shit. You guys would see like me living on a beautiful piece of land, no neighbors, all kinds of animals and cars, and that's what rich people do. You'd see it. A lot of it's just kids, though. Mm-hmm. They do a quick little bit of math in their head, and they go like, Paul's making this much a month. They forget about like taxes, business overhead, employees, fees, and keeping the business solvent. They think we're just taking every single red cent that comes through the business and putting it right in our pockets tax-free. You know what I mean? It just goes to show you. You don't strike me as the kind of guy who likes excess. I'm not even talking about excess. You wouldn't really see excess if I was rich. You would just see a really remote house with a beautiful piece of land and goats and like all the little things that I need to keep that sort of thing going.
You'd have like fucking garden workers and shit.
Yeah.
Landscapers, I guess they're called. Goat herder.
I don't know about that. What is your drive? I don't know. Stubbornness.
I'd say being comfy too is a big drive of yours.
Sure. Yeah. Having a place where I can go to escape from people and escape from the world. Capybaras, yeah, those are my drives. I don't know. I mean, to be honest with you, what keeps me like really going is making sure my family's okay. Making sure my wife and my animals have what they need. We all have a place to be, that everybody's safe and secure. That's really what drives me as a person to, on days where I just feel like not doing it, I'd get up and do it anyway for that.
And you're awesome for that.
You gotta have a drive. Is it true you're writing an autobiography? Writing would be a little too much. I have written the first chapter and the first parts of a second chapter of an autobiographical group of stories. I wouldn't call it an autobiography
or
traditionally.
Actively in progress.
And nor am I, yeah. I mean, it's one of those things that, it's there, it's out there, and if I decide I want to work on it again, I will.
People think that writing is you just do it all at once, and some people can, but
professional writers, especially really prolific ones, they do it all the time. I'm not a professional writer. You ever get scared you're getting closer to death as you get older? No, not really.
That's how older works.
Yeah. That's kind of how it works. Every second that you're alive from the moment you're born, you're getting closer to death. So it's never not been true. Bad thing about writing autobiographies is that you can relive your trauma. Uh, I'm not real worried about that. I'm writing kind of a comedic autobiography. It's got the greatest name, dude. Paul Parkey, My Struggle. No. The greatest name. Beware the Giant Worm.
Yeah, like, that's not like a bad thing either. It's like if you have trauma, you shouldn't just like put it in a box and like never touch it again.
Yeah. I was actually listening to, as I went to sleep last night, an audiobook, a Harlan Ellison audiobook, a collection of his stories, and it has a foreword by the author in front of every story where he talks a little bit about the story and how he wrote it. And there's a story called Lonely Ache, and he talked about how he wrote it after the failure of his second marriage, and he was basically like covering up the pain of losing that marriage by, fucking everything with two legs that he could get his hands on, and how he was very close to having a mental breakdown, but one morning he forced himself to sit down and write the story Lonely Ache, and by the end of it, his nightmares had stopped and he felt closure in that relationship, and he calls it self-therapy. He says, he ends that little foreword by saying, sometimes self-therapy works and it's the best thing for you. So, yeah, the idea that you should take all of your trauma and lock it in a little box and never think or talk about it is not necessarily accurate. It is not for me to tell you what to do with your trauma, but I know that most of the people that I know, myself included, that have overcome some level of trauma in their lives and moved past it have all done therapeutic work, whether it's solo therapy or sit down talk therapy or some kind of therapeutic action that helps them to contextualize what's happened in their lives.
It's like the Babadook.
Mm-hmm. That's what that movie is about. Locking your trauma up and what can happen when you do it. When you choose to ignore your trauma and pretend to the world like everything is okay. That's what the Babadook is about. So, yeah, I'm not trying to give you psychological advice, and I definitely don't think it would be good advice to tell people to wear their trauma on their sleeve. But this idea that you should never speak of it, that you should fear it and throw it away into some like deep dark place inside of yourself and never ever let it out, never ever examine it, I think that that is destructive, personally. Man, I gotta tell you, sometimes I'm doing these and time goes slow. I can't believe I've been doing this 48 minutes already. Does it feel like I've been having a 48-minute conversation?
Energized this morning. Coffee hit.
I guess so. That's usually a sign that we're having a good conversation, at least what I consider to be a good conversation. This will probably not be that popular of a rewatch video because it's very low key, but this is really the type of stuff that I like doing. This is calm and relaxing to me and allows me to vomit out some of my psyche in a way that's a little bit productive and has a little bit of input to it from outside my own head. High and hearing the combo is nice while I try and fail to get frags. What are you getting frags in? I'm gonna guess you're playing Call of Duty Warzone. I right? If you ever tried painting, I'm not artistically inclined in that way, visually artistically inclined. Planet side too, damn, still playing it, huh? Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed. I guess you were the one that brought up Planet Side last time, so I didn't remember that though. Got Resident Evil Village running in the background. Cool. I thought it was interesting. The Waffle House episode comes out the Monday after I cross-dressed in public and passed as a female in a Waffle House at 3 a.m. Hey, congratulations. What'd your rapper name be? I already have one. I have a rapper name, Beauregard. Come on, buddy. The coolest rapper name ever. Rap.
I just gotta find the northernmost state that has a Waffle House. And go again.
There's a Waffle House in Washington, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the closest you can get. Maybe Nevada or Arizona.
Maybe.
Come back outside.
I guess there's one in.
Get your giggle ball.
Yeah.
You like your giggles?
Oh boy. Yeah, I guess this is the Waffle House map. So it's not in Washington.
Oh. Is that New Mexico, the closest one? Yeah.
I think that's Arizona.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then there's.
Well, that's not too far.
Yeah.
Arizona's a doable thing. Take it from a guy that's made that trip about 8 times in his life. The old Arizona to
Montana.
Yep. It's a long, dry stretch of road. What do you say is the most rewarding part of your job? Working for myself. Not having a boss. Getting to decide what my work schedule is. And decide creatively what I want to do with the business. It's the most rewarding part of my job. Also the part of my job that it took the longest to earn the right to do. I spent many years working as a contracted performer. And that makes it rewarding as well. Because I remember what I went through to get it. So, yeah, I would say that.
So many existential questions today, man.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. People are curious. They want to know. They must know. Oh, pardon me.
That's a lot of spicy terpenes that made you sneeze.
Yeah, this is a hydro. Oh, Wee. Hydroponic weed from a top shelf company, so it's gonna get me sneezing probably. Chat's in a very philosophical mood. I guess so. Gazoom tight. Nice try. Gazoom tight, like tight pants.
I rescue his giggle ball from the moss.
Yep. You don't like your giggle ball. I don't get it. Seems like it would be fun.
Is it too loud? Is it too hard? Is it too big?
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
You getting hot, mister. Whoa! A warning.
D. Oh, D. Goofiest boy. There's a certain philosophy about you, Paul. I just haven't found out about it yet. Well, keep watching. You'll get there someday. If you figure it out, let me know. Because I'm curious too. Come on, you sticky. Don't be that sticky. Don't be that high quality. Get in there. Get in there, you. Da 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 da. Cocaine. Da, da. She don't mind. She don't mind. She don't mind. Cocaine.
I'm the most fucking boring person ever with that. I haven't had a single like naughty drug except
baby.
weed.
Let me tell you something. The most boring people in the world are drug addicts. So you're not boring because you haven't tried a lot of naughty drugs. Trust me. I've been around a lot of drug users and drug abusers, and they are some of the most boring people on the fucking planet. It actually makes you pretty unique that you are in your 20s and have not tried a bunch of different drugs. It's kind of like having a tattoo, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you really want to be unique, don't get a tattoo. Because everybody's got a tattoo. It's the same thing. But yeah, it doesn't like broaden your horizons or broaden you as a person to do a bunch of fucking drugs. Especially not the type of drugs that most people consider to be like experimental drugs, like coke or speed or ecstasy or whatever. Trust me, those people that are into those types of drug scenes are some of the most fucking inscrutable, boring people ever.
Fair enough.
It's hard to get addicted to a certain drug after 25. I really don't think that's true. It's pretty easy to get addicted to a drug at any age. You abuse it, you're more than likely going to get addicted in some way. Just the way it goes. Coke makes people annoying. Yes, it does. Coke makes everybody like, you know what reminds me of cokeheads a lot, but it's just an analogy that doesn't really work on a lot of young people or people in general. Twitter reminds me a lot of cokeheads, because everybody on Twitter thinks that what they're saying is the most brilliant thing and that it should be listened to implicitly. And they don't realize that a lot of them are just rambling or repeating something that somebody else has said. And that's very much like a cokehead attribute. If you have never had a conversation with a cokehead, you're a lucky person, because I'm telling you, you'll never forget it when you do. cocaine is one of those drugs that like takes whatever your personality is at the deepest levels of it and it magnifies it like hugely. So if you're kind of an asshole, like me, you become a raging, rampaging, fucking thoughtless asshole. If you're kind of boring and lame to talk to, that doubles down. If you're secretly like, you're one of these people that likes to use the social currency of being considered a nice person, but deep inside you really hate everybody and you're a shit talker, that comes out of you. It just takes whatever you're. It's kind of like alcohol is very much the same way. I think alcohol can have a kind of like a inhibition lowering effect, obviously. It just made you love everything. Yeah, I know. I know. I've done it and I've been around you. I know. It feels great for you. But it's pretty annoying for everybody else.
Except when Hollywood does it.
Well, yeah, I mean, because he is cocaine. How was acid for me? Which time? That's the thing about psychedelics is that one time is not like the next, usually, especially with acid. Mushrooms can be pretty predictable, but still have an element of unpredictability, and acid is almost always different. Almost always. But my experience with overall with psychedelic drugs has been that I really genuinely feel that they've come to they gave me a slightly different perspective on my own life, which you'll hear a lot of people say that have indulged in psychedelics. It gives you it's like an invitation to look at the world outside of your own perceptions for a little while. Started hunting magic mushrooms when you were 16. Looking for them cow patties, huh? Around where I grew up, that was how you farmed them. People would go up into the foothills and find these big free-range cattle farms. Sneak into them at night or, on off days and look for those cow patties. Flip them over because psilocybin loves a cow patty, man. You seen Mr. Yellowbutt again yet?
No. I'm looking for them.
We have these little sparrows. Is that what they are? Sparrows?
Yeah, these ones are. And the other one, the yellow butt's a warbler.
We have these sparrows out here, and I was looking at one yesterday, and he flipped around, and he had this huge yellow butt. And I was like, whoa, look at him. He looked very much like these little sparrows. And I thought, like, well, he must be a fledgling or something. Like, he's just losing all that down, But Amelia looked it up, and I guess there's like a yellow-rumped warbler or something.
Yeah.
Yellow rump. But it was weird, dude. It just looks like he looks like a little sparrow, but with like a little bit of yellow around his head, and then like yellow, like this bright red yellow ass that's a big circle. They're called butterbutts. That's funny. Yeah, well, I saw a butterbutt yesterday.
Oh, dude. That's got to be like the most special moment for like scientists to like be able to name something.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's a big deal for taxonomists and biologists and stuff to discover a species and get to name it. They're a SoCal winter species. They'll be gone in the next few weeks. Yeah. He didn't look like he was going to hang around for long. He looked like he was making a little stop by. Does that mean he tried to smash? I don't know.
They're like all over the fucking country. So.
They are. Paul's moving to Mexico next. No, he's not. Cows be like, whoa, this is a fence that we're stuck in, but what if we're stuck outside? What? Huh? Man, you really needed a proofread of that one.
I guess he thinks that cows get high off their own cow pies.
Maybe. I don't think they're eating their own shit. Hence cow pies. There wouldn't be many pies if they were eating their own pies. You have to use reverse psychology against global warming, so moving to warmer places is a good idea. It's not entirely inaccurate. Could be just huffing the cow pies.
Not how anything works.
You can't huff a solid. If you inhale a cow pie, you're going to drown. In a bad way. The feces fumes. Oh, huffing the jankum.
Why don't you do it over your toilet?
Yeah, next time you take a shit, just put your head in the bowl and take a big whiff. Tell us how high you get. Be the first, you know. Be Yuri Gagarin, the first man into space. Does Jenkum work? No. Jenkum was a meme from the internet where people made up this drug that was caused by pooping and pissing into a bottle and then putting a balloon over top of the bottle and leaving it out in the sun to catch all the gases that come off of it. And then you, when the balloon is full, you take the balloon and you huff the poop gas. And it was a meme on the internet that escaped into the boomer world. So like law enforcement departments were getting like updates on Jenkum and how to spot it and what its usage was like and stuff. And there were actually like cops out there looking for people huffing shit balloon. But it never happened. There's no such thing as Jenkum.
I remember like one of the big like pearl clutching scares was like rainbow parties.
Rainbow parties.
Where like, oh, you know, all the girls wear different colored lipstick and they all suck a dude's dick with a different color lipstick.
Man, that's so convoluted.
Yeah.
That is so like absolutely like such a convoluted setup. That doesn't make any sense. Sounds like fun, but like I don't think there's a like how do you get an invite to one of those, you know? I've never heard about any of them. Regular Jenkum users have a distinctive brown stain on their nostrils, yeah. And a distinct odor. They smell like an outhouse everywhere they walk. Yeah, rainbow parties. Back in the 80s and 90s, I remember they used to talk about this game that kids would play called 7 Minutes in Heaven or whatever.
Yeah.
And it was basically like a boy and a girl would get locked in a closet together. Mm-hmm. And you had to like sit in there alone with them. And the whole idea was you were supposed to make out.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing news stories about it and how it was fueling like a teen pregnancy craze. And dude, when I was a kid watching those news stories, I was like, man, I hope the next party I go to has this.
Yeah. And it never happened.
Fuck no. Nobody was doing 7 Minutes in Heaven, bro. The only like one of those games that I've ever seen played at a party is Spin the Bottle. Spin the Bottle actually happens at parties. And that's that. And maybe like Truth or Dare, I guess. Yeah, I played Spin the Bottle. Who's going next? I'm dying to see. Spin the bottle, baby, and give it to me.
And yeah, and then like around Halloween, they're like, oh, they're giving like $50 fucking weed nerd ropes to
You
kids.
remember that shit, dude? If that has ever happened, I can guarantee you it was entirely accidental. No stoner, no matter how stoned they are, is going to throw their expensive ass nerd gummies or weed jelly beans in your kid's bag for a meme. Sorry. Source: Am Stoner. This may seem weird, but when a stoner gets edibles like that, the first thing they think is not like, man, who could I slip this to? The first thing they think is like, man, when can I eat this bad boy? They don't hang around very often. You know what I mean?
Or if they do, they're enshrined.
Yes.
In a special place.
Yes. That is not going to end up in the bucket of, fun-sized Snickers that you bought. I didn't hook up till I was 18. Have sex? Is that what you mean? I guess that's how you kids say have sex. Yeah, I was 18 as well when I lost my V card.
I think way less people do it before 18 than you think.
I think on both ends, people would probably be surprised. I think for some people, way more people that are under 18 are having sex than they would imagine. And for a lot of people, I think they just assume everybody at that age is having sex. And the truth of the matter is that it was a total mixed bag in my high school. There was definitely an impetus to lose your virginity. Like it was seen as a rite of passage in high school that especially boy, I don't know how girls dealt with it. I think they probably cared less about it. Although I know that they were just as interested in gossiping about sex and stuff. But
there was more shame around it.
Yeah,
it was brag about it.
Yeah, if a girl fucks a dude or two, it's a shame thing. At least back when I was in high school, and when a dude fucks a girl or two, it's like a braggadocious thing. And so being a boy growing up in school, there was a real social pressure to get out there and hit the skins, as we would say. But 18 is the average age in the U.S. that people have sex for the first time. It makes sense, especially given our age of consent laws, broadly. I know some places it's slower, but 18 seems to be the kind of benchmark that most people agree. All right, when you're 18, you can, even if it's a stupid decision, you're an adult, you can handle the repercussions of that stupid decision.
That's also when a lot of kids get actual freedom for the first time, going to college, and because some people do it, but it's not the sexiest thing to fuck in your mom's house.
No. I mean, I lost my virginity in my dad's hot tub, so yeah.
But you wouldn't have chosen that.
I mean, yeah, I would have. It probably would have been cooler if I had my own pad, but I wouldn't have had a hot tub. But I had a different kind of setup too. My dad's house was a 2-story house, and I had the only bedroom on the ground floor. It was a converted den that they walled off and put a door on. And so when my parents were asleep, I basically was alone in the house. But yeah, it's not the coolest thing to be come fuck at my dad's house. But I didn't really invite the person that came and took my virginity. They just kind of came and took it.
The V fairy.
Really was like that, dude. Because I was I'm telling you, man, especially at that point in my life, that was when I was neating it up hard, pretending to go to college while I sat at home all day and played StarCraft and Ultima and
They're just a sexy man. You're irresistible.
I don't know about that. The chick that took my virginity, I think, had a crush on me from back in the high school days.
Which means you're even more irresistible, man.
Yeah.
You stuck with her.
I guess so. But yeah, it was very like, it was just like a really, like, a lot of people's virginity stories are kind of like cringy, and I guess mine is a little bit too. I'm not claiming it was like great, but I don't have like a super like embarrassing virginity story. It was pretty cool, like, overall.
It's always going to be awkward.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they fit together like super easy. You got to have that awkwardness of like, where does this go? Where does that go?
Well, I was lucky because the woman that took my virginity had been with probably like several dozen people. Honestly, not to shame her or whatever, but she got around, so she knew what to do. She knew how to handle things, and that helped, get things off to a good start or whatever. But yeah, damn, she was for the streets. Yeah. My first long-term girlfriend, who I lost my virginity to, was definitely for the streets. Once again, no slut shaming here. Not gonna do it. Women have every impetus to fuck as many dudes as they want, and I know dudes that have fucked way more people than she did, but she got around like more than the average person. Let's put it that way. And whatever. It probably kept my first time from being extraordinarily awkward, because if I had been with somebody that was either like completely inexperienced like me, or had only been with one other person or something, it probably would have been real weird, and she didn't make it that way. I think she kind of like had probably taken a few virginities at that point. I would imagine she knew what to expect. My fake losing the virginity story, the one I told when I was like 16, almost 17. Because my nerdy friend fucking was about to get laid before me, so I had to come up with the quickness. Sluts are amazing. It should be a term of endearment. I mean, it kind of is amongst like third wave feminists and stuff.
Want to go in, mister?
Out of all your life stories, what's your favorite one to tell? I don't know. Yeah, I really don't know. I don't really think of my life in the way that I present it. Like, people like hearing my stories, but to me, it's all one story. You know what I mean? I'll just give you a little chapter here, or give you a little blurb there. To me, there's a timeline going straight through it. And the mundane things are attached to those things, and so it's really hard for me to. I know it may seem like I'm being like picky here, but it really is hard for me to like separate stories from the experience or whatever.
It's contextual too.
It is.
Like, you wouldn't be in the mood to tell certain stories right now.
I mean, it just depends. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much always in the mood to tell any story if it's contextual, or if I can find a good reason to tell it, but the burger story is a fun one to tell. That one is, that's a fun one to tell. I love telling that story in front of my sister, because she will just sit there with a shocked look on her face the whole time, because she remembers it completely differently than I do. And that's the great thing about,
Well, she was drunk, so.
That is true. That's very true.
You gotta do it next time you see her.
Yeah, I mean, if it comes up contextually, I always try to give it a shot. But we got to be among, other people that haven't heard the story first. That's my favorite way to do it. The brony at GameStop. That was just torturous, man. It wasn't at GameStop. It was at a Best Buy. Pre-ordered the Diablo 2 Collector's Edition from Best Buy, and I had to stand in line and listen to a brony for an hour in order to get it.
Yeah, you don't get to do that no more. Everything's like downloads now.
Yeah.
I'm sure some people still do it, but it doesn't have the same like drive to.
Yeah. My limited experience though with release night game grabbing at a place is like it's always sold as an event, but it's always a cringy place to be, and you'd rather be at home playing the game. So for me, there was really nothing lost in the, maybe you would disagree with me, there's really nothing lost in the release night line out in front of the GameStop or whatever. It's always just like a give me my game quick so I can get home and install it and play it, please. Dude, now you don't even have to worry about that. Like, if you buy a game, if you know a game like that's coming out is going to be good or whatever, that you're going to want it. If you buy it on Steam or whatever, they let you preload it. So like the instant it releases, you can just like go. Psh. That's pretty cool. Probably caused a lot of problems too, though. Like with online games in particular, with everybody hitting it all at once.
Yeah.
One time I went to a pre-order event. I saw my ex and had to talk with her for an hour. I just picked it up afterwards. Yeah.
Just bail at that point.
Yeah,
man.
dude, serious, for real. I wouldn't put myself. Well, I guess I maybe would have, because I put myself through the brony shit to get my Diablo fix. Diablo 3, not 2. I think I said 2 earlier. It was for Diablo 3. The most disappointing Diablo. The bastard Diablo that sucks.
Book signings are really lame, too. I don't know if you've ever gone to one of those.
I've never actually been to a book signing, but I can imagine they're pretty lame.
Yeah.
They're always lame in the movies.
Yeah.
So I assume that they're pretty lame in real life. Like, I've
I
never
was
seen them.
standing for like 2 hours. I was into cooking when I was a little kid, so my grandma took me to this one like celebrity chef's book signing. We were just like standing there for like 2 hours and going like, dude.
You know what movie book sign like has really like defined book signing scenes for me was 1408. You remember at the beginning of that where he goes to the book signing and the dude at the counter doesn't even know who he is.
Yeah.
He walks up, he's like, "I'm here for the big event," and he's like, "Cool." Guy's like, "Cool." Doesn't even know who he is. There's like 3 people sitting there, like looking pretty bored.
Although the popular ones I think are worse, because then you're just really like, a lot of times, yeah, you already have the book, so it's not like an exciting new thing. It's just like getting someone's mark on it and talking to them for a sec.
Yeah. I've never really been interested too much in like the idea of like going to meet a celebrity or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm not like infatuated with the idea of talking with certain celebrities, or that I haven't like thought like, oh, it'd be cool to hang out with this person or pick this person's brain, but like the traditional, like, you get 3 seconds, you get to shake their hand, take a selfie, and they sign something for you thing, like that to me is not, that's not meeting a person. That's like a very carefully it's like taking a picture with their like wax dummy or some shit. Like they're there, and I understand it. Like for some people, just like laying eyes on a person that they've spent all this time watching in the movies is, and I'm not going to deny it is cool when you see it. I've seen my fair share of celebrities in public, and had various level of interactions with some fucking really big celebrities. And you know, there is, I gotta understand the drive. There is like I'm not claiming I don't get starstruck. You know what I mean? Like if somebody, like if Trent Reznor was my neighbor or some shit, he's like popped over there, I'd be fucked up, you know.
You're not just gonna sit there like, oh, there's a signing I can get.
No, I'm not really interested in like memorabilia of that nature. I wouldn't turn it down. Like a signed this or a signed that is cool, but I just don't really get off on the idea of going to like some event where that's the point, you know. It's like you get 5 seconds of FaceTime with a celebrity or whatever. It's a little weird, desperate feeling almost.
I mean, I think a book reading would be better.
Yeah.
Like where the author reads their own book.
Trying to think of all the times that I've had brushes with celebrity.
Yeah.
The first time that I can remember, and I'd have to talk to my mom because growing up in California, you're going to brush into more celebrities than your average person. It's just the way it is. The first one that I remember was at the Mid-State Fair in like 1984, 85, or 86, somewhere in there. We watched Huey Lewis in the News. Me and my sister had made, my mom had helped us, obviously. We made this big banner because we all loved Huey Lewis. And we made this "We Love You, Huey" sign. And he saw us in the crowd, and he pointed us out. He said, "Those kids, man, come on down here." And we got to like stand on stage with him while he played Heart of Rock and Roll. And that was cool. We got to like dance around on stage. So that was kind of a brush with celebrity. What would be the next one? Did I go to CISA before or after New York? After. So in New York City, when my dad and I went, we went and saw How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, which had Matthew Broderick in the lead role. And we saw him walking around, like after we left the theater, we were walking around the little area that the theater was at. We were heading towards this big t-shirt outlet shop that had a bunch of tourist t-shirts, and we saw him just like walking by. We didn't say anything to him or anything. He was probably tired as fuck and like ready to go home. So that's kind of a brush. That's an extreme brush. And then I had a trip where I had a double mega brush with celebrity. I was roadieing for a band called Spread Needle was the name of the band, which is ironically it's the name of a weapon, and I guess not ironically, it's the name of a weapon in Phantasy Star Online. But they were a new metal band, and they were my friends. They were my neighbors. Two of the guys that were in the band were my next door neighbors at the condo I was living in. And so I would roadie for them sometimes, just go with them and help them set up and tear down and all that. And we went to LA, and they were jazzed, man, because they got to play the Whiskey A Go-Go. And the Whiskey is like a really famous venue in LA. It's where the Doors got their start. A lot of bands in their early days went through the Whiskey A Go-Go. It's just like a really venerated place for a rock band to get the chance to appear. And so they were very stoked about that. It didn't end up being as cool as they thought it was going to be. It ended up kind of being a scam. Like we showed up there and went to the ticket office, and the guys were like, "Hey, we're Spread Needle, we wanted to come in and set up." And the guy was like, "You guys haven't sold any tickets." And we were like, "Well, yeah, I mean, like, we're the band, though, this is the box office." And he was like, No, you guys don't understand. You guys have to go sell at least 50 of these tickets, or you don't go on tonight. We'll just have the house band play. Or we get somebody that can put some butts in the seats or something. So you guys want to play the Whiskey, 50 tickets. And we were like, okay. So we walked up and down fucking Hollywood Boulevard and just like sold probably like 2 tickets between the 5 of us. And it got down to the fucking nitty gritty. And I didn't have a whole lot of money at this time, but I had a little bit of money in savings. And I was like, fuck it, I'll buy the tickets and we'll just give them out for free. I was like, because this is fucked. We're not going to come all this way and have you guys not play the fucking Whiskey. So I just bought, all 50 tickets. It was like $500 or some shit. And it was a decent chunk of what I had set away. But we were able to then just like pass them out. Hey, come to the Whiskey tonight. Free tickets. We were able to pass out all 50, get some butts in the seats. And the guys got to play the Whiskey. But anyway, on that trip, I bumped into 3 celebrities at a run-in. Well, technically 4, I guess. 3 celebrities and a minor celebrity. So I had a very close run-in with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire, who are good friends. And there's a pizza place that's just up the street from the Whiskey that me and the guys went and got drunk at the night before they played. And I didn't really have any run-ins with them, but I sat right next to them the whole time and didn't realize that they were there. Like they sat and ate pizza next to us and drank beer next to us and walked by us in the line and ordered their shit, and nobody even noticed that it was them. So that's kind of cool. And then I was called a loner, a loser, and a faggot by Anna Nicole Smith because I was staring at her as she walked by the whiskey. And Bridget the Midget was with her, porn actress Bridget the Midget, who is the minor celebrity that I'm talking about.
Did you skip over Leonard Nimoy?
I did, yeah. When I was in high school, I performed for Leonard Nimoy and Edward James Olmos and had a conversation with both of them at California State Summer School for the Arts, which was cool. Edward James Olmos was a nice guy, but he really had nothing of value to give me in terms of advice, and Leonard Nimoy gave me some of the best advice that I've ever received. So it was cool. I didn't get to sit down and have like a whole, long ass session with him or whatever as a teacher, but he gave me one-on-one critique on a monologue that I performed for him, and like it was him, Edward James Olmos. It was all the teachers, in the theater department at CISA, and the main guy, Michael Fields, and all the students. So it was, you perform. There's a lot of pressure in that for a young kid, especially when Spock is sitting out there looking at you. But it wasn't the pressure, I had just not put in the work. I had a lot of other things going on. And one of those things was getting high and smoking cigarettes out on the knoll every night and playing guitar. Not me playing guitar, but singing along with my friend who was there with me that could play guitar. 3/4 of Apple Nasty went to CISA at the same time. It was fucking awesome, man. Because we went from being like a nerdy garage band to one of the only people on campus that had a bunch of songs that were their own that they could all sing together and play together and shit. So it was cool. So yeah, that was one of the things that I had done where, hey, I could have been working this monologue and really internalizing it and taking it seriously. Edward James Olmos basically gave me, the pat on the head. He was like, "Oh, that was very good. You got I liked you did some very good work there. Keep at it, keep working. Blah blah blah." I was like, "Oh, thank you, Mr. Olmos, thank you." And then Spock ripped me an asshole. Spock, Leonard Nimoy said, "You're a talented guy, but I didn't really get to see much of it here today because I think you and I both know that you didn't put a whole lot of effort into this." And I was just like called out, and I wasn't going to lie to Spock because I didn't want him to Vulcan neck pinch me. So I was just like, "You're right." And he goes, "Don't ever go to a performance with less than 110%. And I said, "All right, thank you, sir." And that was it.
Did you walk out with like your tail between your legs,
no
sunken stomach, or were you just...
No, it was, I felt like I'd gotten like a real, like, it felt there was a little sting to it, but honestly, it was really cool. And he was so right. Like, it was so weird the way he had a beat on it.
Yeah.
And...
so it was more like a slap of the face. Like,
yeah, it was just like a wake up, like, you're better than this kind of thing. Yeah. So he critiqued me without making me feel bad.
Yeah.
So that's neat. And then, let's see, what else?
You did the Whiskey A Go Go.
Whiskey A Go Go. I mean, at this point, it becomes a bunch of like YouTube celebrities.
Yeah.
I went and saw Kyle Gass in a really small show where he did like a little signing afterwards. That's kind of cool. From Tenacious D. But yeah, I think that's about it when it comes to celebrity run-ins, unless I'm forgetting one, which I very well may be.
Did you Were you like saying something about New York, or you already did that one?
Yeah, that was Matthew Broderick in New York. It is not really a crazy run-in, given that he was doing a show in that area. And I see what you're saying. That's how my software programming professor was, super good at correcting you and your code without being a dick about it. I mean, he was a little dickish about it. I mean, it was just like he put me on the spot, you know? He just straight up told me to my face, like, you didn't really try with this. And rather than getting all defensive and shit, I knew it to be true, and I wasn't going to sit and, you know, I said yes. Yeah, you're right. I didn't. Any politicians you have met? Not that I can think of, man. Like national level politicians or state level. No, can't really think of one.
Really, the only one I got was like the mayor's daughter went to school, the same school as I did, so the mayor came in a few times. But
I mean, I knew some like local level politicians. I had a friend when I was growing up whose dad was at one point the superintendent of schools or whatever, and so, you know, like I knew some local people who were into local politics, but I never knew a politician like on the state national level. Tell Vosh they're taking volunteers now. Yeah, get a profile. Get a PFP.
Yeah, it was kind of creepy, honestly, because he just like showed up and like was watching in on the class, like sitting in the back.
Who was?
The mayor.
Oh. They do shit like that. It's always so weird. Teachers hate it.
Yeah.
Because it just like interrupts a whole day worth of instruction for people to come and stare at them or whatever. It's just a very odd and off-putting thing. You wrote a letter to Bill Clinton about how cigarettes are bad, and then the taxes on tobacco were raised 3 weeks later. Damn. You can email Noam Chomsky and he responds. Yeah, I would want to waste Noam Chomsky's very precious and limited time. He's one of those dudes that's given like a fucking 28,000 talks, and any question I would have for him is probably answered somewhere within that.
Do you like a one-on-one with him if you could get him?
Noam Chomsky?
Yeah.
I'd have a beer with anybody.
Yeah. I mean, like a recorded one or whatever.
I don't think I'm great at that, man. I don't really think I'm a good, like, interviewer.
Yeah.
I think TJ would probably be a better interviewer. I just don't really have that bug. I like to mess with people.
Mm-hmm.
I like to fuck with the format a little too much, and I think he'd get pretty stodgy with that. Because, you know, I would definitely want to ask Noam Chomsky some political questions, some political philosophy questions, but I'd also want to ask him, like, what, you know, about farts and stuff. You know, the more human side of Noam Chomsky, and I think he would just be like completely off-put by that. He's a fucking high-tier intellectual, man. He's used to being treated with reverence and carefully prepared questions.
You can't just come in. It's like, what's your favorite fart noise?
Like, what do you think about the fact that, you know, as little as a fart has touched off war and conflict in this world, and how do you stop conflict in a world where something as innocuous and human and uncontrollable as a fart can touch off conflict? You know, has Chomsky ever laughed? Yeah, I've heard him laugh before. He laughs like he talks. He goes that Indian dude who farted and went into exile for like 10 years. Yeah, Abu Hassan from the 1001 Arabian Nights. Abu Hassan. He farts at his own wedding and everybody laughs at him, and he goes into exile for 10 years, and finally he gets over it and comes back, and he walks into the city and he hears a little girl ask her mom, what day was I born? And the mom says, verily, my child, you were born on the day that Abu Hassan farted. And he realized that his fart had never stopped, that he was still stuck in that moment forever, endlessly flatulating in front of everybody that he cared about and wanted respect from. It's a tragic tale, man. You tell me farts are all just about funny.
Yeah, see, I think when you have a moment like that, you just have to come up with a bunch of other moments to distract from it. Like Trump had mastered that, where like he had so many moments that you couldn't like keep track of them all.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's definitely like the overload.
Yeah.
Where it's just like no stupid or inscrutable thing that he did could last longer than 5 minutes because he just did another one.
Yeah.
You talked to Milo when he was sort of a celebrity at the time. Yeah, and look at how that went. I did not give Milo an interview. Like, I made fun of Milo. I provided opposition to his, neoconservative worldview. And I provided opposition to his attempt to be, charismatic and let that carry him through shit. And people fucking howled for my blood for days, bro.
Yeah, you don't want to cancel Noam Chomsky.
No, I mean, like, it wouldn't be him that got canceled. It would be like everybody in the world would hate me because I wasted Noam Chomsky's time. Yeah. They'd be like, he's like 95, dude. He's probably only got like 10 interviews left, and you asked the dude about farts and shits. Man, I'd be a pariah, bro. Might be worth, though, to get Professor Chomsky's thoughts on those things. You didn't get enough credit for taking down Milo. I mean, I find that like when stuff like that happens, credit is hard to ascribe. I don't really think I should get credit for taking down Milo. I was a at that time paid Friday guest on a podcast. You know what I mean? I did not engineer getting Milo on the show. That was my bosses, my coworkers that did that. You know what I mean? There was a lot that went into getting Milo in that position. And I think people sometimes, and myself included, I just kind of roll with the meme sometimes, but honestly, I think people sometimes overcredit me for what was really just a spectacular meltdown on his part. He felt like he was on top of the world, and he went on Joe Rogan and said some fucking crazy, stupid shit as well. He kind of did the same little, like, oh, it's fine to be raped as a gay boy or whatever kind of line on Rogan as well. And I think that probably, it just happened to be a clip from our show. That somebody sat on like a little ripe egg and then released right at the most damaging moment for Milo. And, but had I not been adversarial with Milo that night, had I not been a counterpoint, maybe we never would have gotten to that point. Maybe he never would have gotten to the point where he was off balance enough to start ranting and raving about that. Maybe he would have drunk less. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize about the Milo episode is that Milo was, I'm not saying he was smashed, but Milo was good and wine drunk before the show started. And I'm pretty sure he drank the whole way through the show. So maybe had he not had this adversary there, he wouldn't have felt the impetus to kind of like drink as much, and maybe he wouldn't have been as free with his lips, and maybe he wouldn't have said what he said, and that, that's the role I played, if any at all. I was an agitator that maybe, pushed Milo in the direction of saying some really stupid fucking shit. But I didn't take down Milo's career. That was the conservatives. That was whatever that conservative pack or whatever it was that released that edited chunk of the Drunken Peasants appearance, and then the conservative media and punditry and politicians. They ended him. Ended in what way? Like, took him from one of the most recognizable rising stars in the Republican Party. I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but he was slated to speak at CPAC. He was the keynote speaker at CPAC that year. That's a huge thing. That's a huge deal. That's a spot that's oftentimes reserved for ex-conservative presidents and high-level media figures. And he was about to be like the keynote speaker at CPAC. And that didn't happen. And now he's a weird huckster that pretends that he's not gay. Pretends that he's not gay. And presides over a gay deconversion scam. That's a little different than being a respected mainstream political pundit. So that's what I mean by ended. Well, that type of shit broke out of the internet in a major way. The whole anti-SJW, Gamergate, red wave kind of new neoconservative kind of thing. It really broke out of the internet and was becoming mainstream. And a lot of people deserve credit for that. I think the Drunken Peasants podcast deserves credit for that. For despite the fact that the really hot content on YouTube was supposed to be this like constant barrage of conservatism, we remained a podcast of leftists while still maintaining an audience that at that time was made up largely of people that were looking for that kind of alt-right Pepe type of content. And we may have been the only exposure to leftist thought that a lot of those people had. And so I think that Drunken Peasants podcast on the whole deserves a lot of fucking credit for defusing the alt-right. I think a lot of the lefty commentators that stuck to their guns deserve a lot of credit for diffusing the alt-right. There was a big kind of pushback that had to happen to have these people flame out and disappear and not be a cultural movement that had staying power. So I think a lot of people deserve a lot of credit for standing up and being themselves at a time where it would have been way easier to just be just ride the red wave or whatever. People of conviction. And back when that happened, everything was different. That was around the time everything started shifting, actually. Do you regret being a part of that skeptic community, anti-feminist stuff? No. See, I was never like a big skeptic slash. Well, I was a part of the skeptic community, like when the great debate was going on, right? But I was never a big anti-feminist or something. I do think that there's, and still is, and definitely was at that time, a huge element of really cringy third wave feminism happening, and I don't think I said anything that I would take back about that. Like the absurdity of, just like the whole Big Red shit. You guys remember we made fun of Big Red quite a bit, and the overreactions that would happen, and these SJWs that would like act like the very fascists they claim to be, working against by like blocking off people as they tried to go and watch somebody give a talk or something. That type of shit, I still find that cringe as fuck. Like anybody that's like at their college trying to keep somebody from going in and listening to somebody speak or whatever, that shit is cringe, dude. It will forever be. It's like anybody that's trying to control the narrative by limiting access to information and limiting dialogue is... Yeah, she's the fire alarm lady, and I'm speaking fuckface. It was just like, wow. Yeah, dude. Like, do you like? Yeah, that's exactly the point. Like I almost want to highlight this comment. You know what? Fuck it. I've seen you around, and you're always a good contributor. You don't have to do anything, but welcome to your newest Spectre inspiring mind. Like I said, this comes with no impetus on your part. If you feel like banning or doing anything, you have free reign now to do so. But if you just feel like chilling, don't feel any, there's no need for you to do anything. Let's put it that way. But that's exactly right. Inquiring mind. Yeah. Sorry. He's got the weird alternate keyboard language shit going on. But yeah. You know what I mean? There's just undeniable cringe that was going on in those circles. I think if anything was damaging about us covering that kind of stuff on DP, it was like feeding the narrative that overall that was the left. You know what I mean? I don't think we ever said that, but I think that our coverage of it for the ha-has maybe gave some impressionable people the idea that that's what feminism was or whatever. Maybe we weren't as good at... Now, I know that I explicitly remember talking about feminism on DP pretty frankly, but probably not as many times as we, made fun of some cringy feminist slam poetry or whatever. So, if anything, I guess I find that slightly regrettable, but the positives about DP, there was really a fundamental center about DP that I really found valuable, and that was that as a show we were willing to talk to anybody who wanted to come on and talk to us. It didn't mean that they got carte blanche, but anybody that wanted to step into the stoner den could do it. They were invited, and there were still is to this day. Don't platform this person. You platformed that. You platform. Like as if having somebody on and having a conversation with them is some kind of like boosting of their signal. When we just got done talking about how people allowing Milo Yiannopoulos onto their shows to run his mouth is what stopped his ascent. So it's just, there's a lot of cognitive dissonance in the idea that a podcast that is largely political shouldn't talk to anybody that wants to talk. So... I don't think your freedom of speech guarantees you the freedom of a platform, but by the same token, your freedom of speech protects you from being completely and utterly unable to go on anybody's platform. You know what I mean? In my opinion. If there's somebody that wants to talk to you, you should be able to go and speak your mind to that person. I don't care, what kind of boogeyman you are or what you've been accused of doing or whatever. People's words are very revealing things. And I think that trying to silence people, I think just tactically as a leftist, it's stupid. Like, don't you want the people that oppose you out there in the open being honest and boisterous so you can know who your most direct enemies are, in terms of, ideological enemies? Do you really want to foster this environment of, I put on a fake smile in public, but at home I'm telling N-word jokes or whatever? That doesn't seem to be a good way of going about combating these things, at least not in my opinion. I mean, you're free to do whatever, conduct yourself how you will, but that's something that I really think that the drunken peasants never got enough credit for. In fact, that was used as a weapon against the drunken peasants oftentimes, as we were painted as in like an alt-right adjacent podcast or some shit, because we would have these alt-right figures on. Never mind the fact that we opposed them, there was never like an alt-right figure that we had on who we didn't openly oppose their, shitty, backwards social ideas. Nobody got like carte blanche on the show. We didn't do seasons, so I don't know. I was on the show from, you guys would probably be able to know this better than I do, honestly. I'm notoriously bad with time and years. Pretty sure I started going on the show in 2015, maybe early 2016. And I was on the show in one form or another for 3 years. 2016, 17, 18, no. Well, maybe, something like that. Close to that. 3 years, maybe. 2 years. I don't know. You guys would know better than I do. Yeah, 200 episodes. Yeah, that sounds about right. So, very close to half the amount of episodes that existed of the show up until the point where I quit, I was on. So, would you now debate Destiny? What? About what? I'm going to debate Destiny about. I just don't think I can hang, bro. I think I could do fine, like holding my own, like philosophically. I think people that were inclined to agree with me would come away agreeing with me, and people that were inclined to agree with him would go away agreeing with him. But I don't know that, like, he has got like such an energy about him that it, and I'm not like, trust me, I do not want this to come off like I'm accusing him or something, but it reminds me of like an amphetamine high kind of thing. He speaks super fast. He's got this very staccato way of speaking, and I just don't know that I could fucking hang in with that. It just drives me a little bit nuts. I liked Destiny. Destiny's always kind of been a fast-talking guy, but he was, in my opinion, like way more thoughtful in the earlier days. He was less of a pundit and more of just kind of like a personality that would sometimes interview interesting personalities, but most of the time just played video games. That Destiny, I think I would be a lot more chill with than the current hardcore YouTube political commentator Destiny. I can't get through his stuff, man. I have a feeling I would probably agree with him on quite a few things and disagree with him on quite a few things, but I can't really qualify it because I can't get... I just can't get through like 10 minutes of a Destiny video. Dude, I want to see any semi-competent leftist sit across from Biden and get to grill him. I don't even want to be the one that necessarily does it, dude. Just take somebody and sit them across from Biden and let them just berate him. I owned Vosh on Biden. He would disagree, and his fans would disagree, while simultaneously being unable to point to the positives of Biden's presidency, or getting really, really infantile about what they consider to be positives and completely ignoring the negatives and the accelerations that have happened. It's just the way it works, you know? I still don't know who Destiny is. Why did you type that then? Seems like a time to bow out of the conversation and not spew a bunch of fucking nonsense. Nobody cares. If you don't know who Destiny is, shut up. Or go Google it, or go find somebody else to watch. Shut up. Would you debate Crowder? I don't debate people, dude. I've never had a debate publicly in my life. Maybe some kayfabe debates about things or whatever, but like I've never actually sat down and had a moderated debate with anybody because I don't like the format. I find the debate format to be restrictive. Like, do you guys know the channel Modern Day Debates? They've kind of taken off. Like, really early on in their channel, they got Dr. Dino. What was his name? Not William Lane Craig. The guy that went to fucking jail for tax fraud and stuff. Now he's out. I can't remember. Not Ken Ham. Who is that fucking guy? Kent Hovind. Thank you. And they DM'd me on Twitter in the early days of their stuff and said, hey, we got Kent Hovind to agree to come on and debate creationism versus, you know, atheism or whatever. And, you know, would you be interested in coming on and being, you know, taking the side of atheism? And I was just like, you know, I appreciate the offer, but no. I really don't like debates. You know, I kind of explained my distaste for the format, and I wish them the best of luck. And they went on to be a pretty big channel. They get some pretty big people on there to hash it out. And if you like that type of moderated format, it's a pretty cool place to be. But I'm just not a fan of, not them, just the format of debate, moderated debate. I like conversations, so you'll probably not catch me. You might see some conversation I have with somebody in the future labeled as a debate, but if you don't hear me call it a debate, know that I went into it as a conversation, you know. And also know that a debate requires moderation and strict rules about content and time and all of that. And that is usually not what happens when two people like argue or have a conversation. Usually no timer or anything like that. I mean, even like the Jamie Darkey thing was not really a debate. One of the reasons I think TJ is a good debate like moderator is because his whole debate style is give people a couple of minutes to like give their opening statement and then let them go at each other. That's not really a debate. Like, you know, very loosely fits the definition of what I would call a debate. And it's probably the closest thing you'll ever see from me, like a debate. But, you know, it lacked all of the things that I consider to be standard debate. You know, strict moderation, strict time management, strict limiting of topic. None of that was present. It was like, what? Hash out your fucking drama. So that was just a conversation with a little bit of moderation thrown in. But yeah, I don't participate in debates. I have no desire to be a debater. What was that debate about? Fuck me. I don't even know, dude. You tell me. I think kink at Pride was the latest fucking thing that everybody was clutching pearls about, being wrong about, and so it was that. I think we talked about that. I can't remember outside of that. Ultimately, what is and isn't considered the definition of a debate versus discussing is semantics. I don't really think so, dude. I think if you actually look at a debate, you will see a very strict set of rules. They can vary, like time lengths can vary, but you will always see a very non-injection based moderator who says nothing unless they absolutely have to. You will see strict rules on what the discussion topic is to prevent people from going off topic or gish galloping. You will see time limits and equal time given for call out and response. You will see, sometimes the moderator stepping in to move on to a different subtopic after enough questions and back and forths have happened. But all of these things, remember, are defined before the debate ever takes place. We're going to talk about these three aspects of this.
There's no like bombshells.
Yeah. I really don't think those differences between like a totally just free-form conversation are semantic. I disagree. I think they're very clearly defined rules that actually impede what I would call normal flow of conversation on purpose. So, yeah. There's really not a whole lot of semantics involved, in my opinion, but you're allowed to be wrong if you want to.
Yeah, it's like TJ in that Jamie discussion. He was more just like the smooth over guy.
Right. He was there to host it, basically. And he was like, all right, you guys each get 2 minutes as an opening statement, and then you go at each other. That's not a debate. Yeah. There was no like, we're going to debate on this, and then we're going to debate on this, and then finally we will move on to the third topic of the night, and we will conclude with your closing statements. There was none of that shit. It was just, TJ making sure that one of us didn't yell over the other one continuously and blah, 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 blah. That's a moderated discussion, not a debate. Plus, you were going into that debate that you were going to be trolling openly. In fact, like it's live on one of the Highdeologies that's still here on the channel. Mm-hmm. TJ came in and was like, "Hey, you want to debate Jamie on my channel right now?" And I was like, "Only if you're cool with knowing that I'm not going in it to like debate. I'm going in it to just fuck on Jamie. If you're cool with that being, because that is definitely what I'm up to doing right now. And so if that's cool with you," and he was like, "Oh yeah."
And then he told Jamie specifically too. It's like,
yeah,
I'm just profiting off of the drama.
Mm-hmm. So that's not a debate. Bad faith. I don't know what happened to Jamie. I don't know if she's still streaming or what. She hasn't popped up in my recommended in a while.
Mm-hmm. Well, she's still doing her shit.
Cool. Well, good for her.
I think maybe
she
YouTube just like realized that you're only watching it for like 2 seconds or something.
You know why I really think I don't see her? Because she's backed away. She stopped hashtagging like deep fat fried and blah 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 blah. Yeah. Like she's backed away from TJ's community pretty heavily, as far as I can tell, and my community and the drama that she would stoke, between this community and Vosh's community and shit. if she was doing that and hashtagging shit, she would be all up in my right. That was why I was always noticing her. Is because you don't understand, like when you have an account and somebody hashtags your account in one of their videos, you're gonna see it. Like it gets thrown in your recommendations and shit. Somebody mentions your name, there's a good chance it's gonna get thrown in your recommendations and shit. So I assume that she's really not talking about TJ or me or anything that we talk about, and that she's kind of doing her own thing, which I think is a healthy thing for her, because I don't think she was ever going to come out on top of one of those discussions. It doesn't matter. I mean, she has a small, what you consider to be irrelevant cult following on the internet. Most people don't have that. Most people don't even have a small following on the internet. So, give Jamie her props where she deserves them. She runs a little show, and she's got a little community that comes along, and they like to watch her play video games and talk shit about the news, and that's cool. Most people don't have that. Most people couldn't put together 2 fucking people to come watch them talk about the news. So, give credit where it's due. Not everybody can be a big fucking blogger, YouTuber, whatever. There's just not room enough for everybody to be it. Not everybody, and I'm not saying this is necessarily Jamie, although I don't think, it would be a slight to say that I do think it is her, that she would fall into this. Not everybody just has what it takes to be that top echelon. It doesn't make them any less worthy as a person, and it doesn't make their voices any less important. It's just like they're not gonna ride the wave, you know what I mean? There's a certain,
especially like trying to like pull from a certain community, like people just don't have time.
That's typically a bad way to, and it's one of the things that, because I had a talk with Jamie after that big debate, where I went on her channel. One of the things I brought up to her is like, growing a community is an organic thing, and trying to grow a splinter community, and I'm not saying it's never happened, but just know that everybody wants to be doing the same thing. So when you've got like a show like Deep Fat Fried, or you got a show like DP, and you want to create, like, we used to make fun of it, the inebriated discussions of a fantastical variety podcast or whatever it was, with the bitch boy slap fights and stuff, and the unfunny comedian running it, like that. It was a meme. If you want to make something that's new and it's its own thing.
It's not just like Ari.
Yeah. Don't be a reactor, because there's a billion of those out there. Walk your own way. I think, honestly, and I don't know anything about her metrics or anything. I don't really care. I think that Jamie has a better chance of developing something that is a good community for herself by just kind of like doing her own thing and having her own takes and not involving. Because I think a lot of people have this thought that if I hashtag a bunch of different people, I'm going to get more views, and that's necessarily true, but when it comes to building a community, it's not good, because the people that are viewing those are going to come and shit on you, because you're shitting on their little personal favorite guy or whatever.
Or you have like one really popular video, but then everything else is the same.
Right. And you get into this loop where if I'm not constantly apoplectic about whatever TJ said or whatever Vosh said, then I'm not going to get any views on my channel, and nobody's hanging around. And I think Jamie probably saw that and made some changes to her format and stuff, and I think it's a good thing. I don't think there was anything good was going to come of Jamie being oppositional with TJ or me. You know what I mean? Not to discourage her for doing so if she wants to in the future. I'm just saying, I don't think it was ever going to be a positive move for her channel. So, what do you? Whoa! What do you think about polling data showing the most young people want to be YouTubers? So I heard that many years ago, actually, while I was still working at the school district. So this has been a long time thing. This is not new. They did a poll while I was still working at the school district. It's probably 2007, 2008. People were asked, like, what do you want to be? They did that whole poll, and usually it's like astronaut, fireman, policeman, whatever, scientist. That year, and I think every year since, it's been, I want to be an influencer. So it changes with whatever the influencer fucking, platform is. So, back then they might have said, I want to be a Viner or whatever. But it boiled down to, like, I want to be a social media figure. And that is just awful. Not that you can't like have a good life doing it or whatever, but you have to understand like there are certain like things that you gotta, man, I don't want to talk about this like I'm full of some hubris or like I'm some kind of big like, but I have a natural aptitude for talking, and I've spent my whole life developing it. And a lot of people aren't going to do that, and they want to be that, and they look at these people that do it, and there's this very very like negative feedback loop where on one hand these people think, oh, it's super easy to do this, and on the other hand the content creators make it seem that way. You know what I mean? Because that's cool. Because part of like the draw of those types of influencers, in my opinion, is hey, that could be me. I could just turn on my camera one day and do this. And people don't understand they got a whole team behind them. They got a whole set. They got a whole fucking, business that is run behind that. And, they think they're just a cool person that sits around in their house all day, I was like, well, no. It's not really the way it works, man. The people that make, are breakout stars, say what you want about them, they are typically very keen performers, and you have to practice that shit in one way or another. You either got to get out there and do it for years and years and years until you get better at it, or you've got to do it outside of that venue for years and years in college and in school and get better at it. I mean, the idea that you're just going to flick on your camera and become a superstar is just not true. Even Steven Crowder, yes. Nobody would watch Steven Crowder if he wasn't able to tickle a certain part of the population's confirmation bias, and if he didn't have a certain kind of slimy charisma and charm about him. Just because I don't find him all that charismatic or charming doesn't mean that I deny that a bunch of people do. A bunch of people like that, like corn-fed white boy kind of college prankster slash conservative pseudo-intellectual thing that he does. It works. Same thing with Ben Shapiro. If there was nothing magnetic about his personality, and if he wasn't a good performer and a good extemporaneous speaker, he never would have gotten popular. Jordan Peterson, the same way. I make fun of him a lot, but the dude is better than 99.9% of the population at extemporaneously talking about very esoteric things. And most people can't do that.
And the controversy is part of their appeal, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's like a fuck ton of people that just hate watch all three of those.
Yep. So... yeah, it's like the lotto, there are some people, but even those people, like, people will say, well, yeah, some people will get this, like, one video and it goes viral. Well, the reason that it goes viral is typically that person has a magnetism or a talent, and that talent becomes on display to millions of people for the first time. So even if that person just struck gold and made a video that they didn't expect to get big and it got huge and went viral, there's probably a lot of talent that went into the making of that video in multiple aspects. It's probably not just some guy back in the day, dude, and during the Vine days, sometimes it was like, just some stupid shit.
Yeah, like
some
the
stupid
early days of YouTube.
Low effort crap. I remember this like black lady that got popular on YouTube because she did this thing where she was like on a toilet and she sang the song, sitting on the toilet, sitting on the toilet, sitting on the toilet, and she just repeated it over and over again while she was sitting on a toilet. And that got passed around, and she got huge views on that video. But I'll tell you what, dude, I don't remember the last time I heard anybody talk about the sitting on the toilet lady. So it's just like, even if you get big and viral, there's a good chance that people are laughing at you, not with you. And there's a good chance that if that's all you got, nobody's going to come back for a second scoop. By the way, the big finish was, now flush. And then she reached behind her and flushes the toilet. And that was the meme. It was like TJ's blueberry pie video, In fact, TJ's Blueberry Pie video is a satire of that type of content, which was, you know, the one-hit wonder content.
Mm-hmm.
He did a couple of them. He did Blueberry Pie, and then one of them that's lost to time is Man Tits. Mm-hmm. He did the Man Tits song.
You say Cold Pockets was part of that, or was that more refined?
Cold Pockets was more refined. Cold Pockets was like a little avant-garde film or whatever. Satire, more like failed attempt. I mean, that's the cynical way to look at it, I guess.
What did you do? Tried giving him a brush, but he wouldn't let me get his belly. So he's all brushed on the top.
I think we might be able to maintain him if we get like some clippers, hold him down, and just shave that area.
Yeah.
And some of the more problematic areas that he's got, and then maybe use the clippers to take down some of the length. I think we could do it, honestly. Yeah. Like, it probably wouldn't look like a professional groomer cut or whatever, but I don't know. So many people have done dumb things for clout and social media. Only a few succeed and actually break out as internet sensations. Yeah, it's the same, probably like a very similar ratio to the amount of people that back in my day wanted to be actors. I want to be a movie star when I grow up. That was a pretty common thing for kids to say. And in fact, I think a few times in the 80s and 90s it was probably the number one thing. But out of all those millions and millions of kids that wanted to be actors and wanted to make a living doing that, maybe what, 0.001% of them got the chance to do that in some capacity? Tis what it is, I suppose. Anyway, I'm out of here. I'll see you guys later. Bye.